Hello and welcome to Colour Multimedia Enterprises. My name is Luke, also known as Tianery, and I am going to be starting an entirely new tutorial series which is going to be learning how to use hxWidgets with, of course, Haxe. Now, for those of you who are perhaps not aware, I did a vlog yesterday which described my intentions going forward with StoryDev 2. And I explained that perhaps it would be best that I rewrite it now in hxWidgets instead of doing it later when I've already done pretty much most of the code base. So what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks is provide you with a series of tutorials with hxWidgets. In these tutorials we will be writing a simple notepad application. We're not going to be just using hxWidgets. I'm going to be using a library called link dialogues as well, which will help with that. So, if you haven't already, what you'll need to do is install hxWidgets. Thank you, Ian Harrigan, for developing it. So what you'll need to do is go onto this page right here, github.com/ianharrigan/hxWidgets, with a capital W there, and you'll need to follow the instructions for your given operating system. There's a bit more instructions for Windows than there is for Linux and Mac, but that's fine. So I'm going to be building with the shared release, so that does mean I'll be needing the DLL files for it. You can also build with static as well. Actually, I might do static just to make things a bit easier. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is use Haxe Develop to create an application. I'm going to highlight C++ project in Haxe, and I am going to call it Notepad Tutorial. Just call it that for the time being. Before I start, what I'm going to do is get rid of these comments because I don't need them, and I am going to add. It's going onto my other screen. Hang on. I'm looking for a new batch file. Right. So what I'm going to do is put in build.bat like that. And what I'm going to do is type in Haxe-cp src. I could also make it a hxml file if I wanted to, not that it really matters. So dash src, this is where my source files are. Dash main, the entry point, cpp, where I want the output to go. I'm going to put in dash lib so that we indicate that we're building with that library, and I'm also going to put in dash d static here, which is what's needed in order to tell hxWidgets that's what we're going to be building. If I omitted static, then I would need to put into the bin folder the necessary DLL files. I believe that's what it is. 2 seconds, hang on a minute. Should be here somewhere. I'm not in the right folder though. Let's have a look. hxWidget sits in samples. So I'm just going to take a quick look at these two files here. I'm just going to edit in Notepad++ for the time being. Oh, it's wxstatic. Probably just copy both of these, actually thinking about it. So let's just copy both of those and put it into here. Dash d wxstatic and dash d ABI is equal to dash md, which I believe is to do with multi-threading. Let's have a look. So much for static linking. If wxWidgets is using, oh, right, static linking, duh, right. It's to do with static linking. I was obviously confusing it with something else. But anyway, so in order to build an application, first of all, what we are going to need to do is import hx. Well, not by doing that. Why does it do that for? Stop it. I have gripes about this editor, I really do. In some ways, stop it. In some ways, will you stop doing that? It's bloody annoying. Right, in some ways, it has better auto completion, but unfortunately, it has issues like that, for example, causing the focus to leave the code editor while you're actually editing code, which is really annoying sometimes, as you can probably tell. But anyway, so within hxWidgets, we've got a thing called app. So we're going to need to init that. Actually, I believe you actually need to initialize it first before you can call that. So you need to create it first, and then do app.init. Now, in order to help you along the way, what you can do is go over to the source code over in these folders here. So inside app, what this is going to do is it's going to create this reference to wxApp right here, and then we're going to init it. So when we create it, it's going to start the application and initialize things. Right, so what I'm going to do is back in here, not there, here, I am going to create a frame. Var frame is equal to new frame. No, stop doing that. I really do not like it when you do that. Now, a frame is basically a window. It extends from window, and it allows you to create a dialog, right? So what I'm going to do is first of all pass in null for the first parameter, meaning that we do not want to pass in a parent for this frame. There's not going to be a parent for this frame. There's also a title parameter as well. So let's just double check that and take a look. This is a good source for taking a look at things. So we pass in null for the first parameter. Title is the second parameter, so we want to pass that in as well. So let's say notepad tutorial here. There's also two other parameters as well, which I'll show you. So you've got style and ID. Now ID is not particularly important. ID is normally useful for binding events if you were to write it in C++, because in C++ you bind events generally using macros. But in this case you don't. You use a function called bind, which is in the event handler. And that then allows you to associate an event type with a given function, right? But I'll go on to that in a bit. So what you've also got is style. Now, as you can see, there's no styles here. So where do we take a look for that? Well, there's this styles folder here, and in here we have frame style, which is a type def to that. Which is slightly annoying, because then that means having to navigate between all these different things. But let's just put this into a different thing. Go into frame style here, and we've got all these frame styles. So as you can see, we've got iconize, so that will display an icon in the frame when it's minimized. We will display the caption, puts a caption on the frame. There's quite a few of them. So minimize is, so let's take a look at that. So if we go onto the comment here, identical to wx icon, and that's of course Windows only. Displays a minimize box on the frame. So yeah, it's important to not necessarily stick to looking at the source code, but at least identify what things are, because not everything in wxWidgets has been implemented in hxWidgets. So you need to be a bit careful about what functions you use and stuff like that. So just double check to make sure that you are putting those things in. So if you were to include, let's say, resize border, for example, which is going to be there anyway, but if we were to just make it resize border, so let's go back in here. What I would do is I would say import hx. Again, I need to stop doing that. hx dot. Is there a way to disable that crap? It's bloody annoying. Styles dot stop it frame style. I know it'll work anyway, but it's still annoying nonetheless. So if we were to put in frame style here, dot, and then obviously you can put in things like, so let's go back here. We could put in things like resize borders. I'm just going to copy and paste this because it might not work, you never know. Now, in order to test this, I'm going to need to display this frame. So what I'm going to do is put in a show here. Again, it needs to stop doing that. Trust me, don't use Haxe develop. Flash develop is better. Just got to point that out. Stop doing that. And then what we also need to do is put app.exit at the end here. The reason why is because it doesn't respond if you don't otherwise put that there. Now, in order for us to close it, we also need to bind an event. So we need to make sure that we put that there. Now, event type is in the hxWidgets. Event type is in the hxWidgets package. That's what I was supposed to say. And there is an event called, I believe it's close window, like this. So will you stop? Oh, for God's sake! This is honestly. There are times when Haxe develop just obeys you, and it's okay. At other times, it's just really annoying. Just really, really annoying for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I really don't understand it. Yeah, it's closed window. Okay. So, inside closed window, it's going to pass in a function. Not a function, a variable, which is going to associate itself with that event type. We don't really need to do that. But what we will do is put in frame.destroy. And what that is going to do is bind the close window event to the frame, and that means that when we click on the close button in the corner, it will destroy the frame when we close it, because that's the function we're associating it with. So let's go ahead and build that. It's probably going to take a while, so I will probably pause the recording of this, well, skip part of this video while it's building, and then I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so now that it's built, what we can do is take a look, see the results. Oh, another thing that I forgot to do is make sure to set the size. That might be a good idea. So what I'm going to do is set size. Now you can specify a location as to where it will go. Alternatively, what you can do is also pass in -1 for both the X and Y location, which will allow it to center in the screen. That's at, so I'll pass in 800 by 600 for the width and the height. Again, stop doing that. Right. So let's rebuild that a moment. Build. Okay. One thing I did forget, actually, before we move on is actually app.run, which will allow it to run the application as you initialize things, which might be important, you never know. So let's resave that once again and rebuild, and that actually might let it show on the screen. Again, you still probably need to use the set size anyway so that it locates itself somewhere on the screen, otherwise it will, I believe it will use its defaults anyway. So let's go ahead and show it. Now it's here, although located in a strange place. So this is what it looks like when it's resizable and nothing else, basically. So if we were to remove that frame style, then it will use the defaults. So let's go ahead and rebuild that once again to show you those results. And of course those defaults will include these the X in the corner, the minimize, the maximize, etc. And there you go, Notepad tutorial. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In the next tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to use menus, how to bind them to the frame, and adding the text box and adding it to the frame as well. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.